On 14th of November, India notified the digital personal data protection rules in the Gazette of India.
India is a society where openness is our default. We grew up in a joint families. We shared spaces. We shared our belongings. We shared responsibility. Privacy was never a daily practice. Our social fabric trained us to believe that if information exists, it has to be shared. Your device is set up by even the password. Still, we see, yeah, look at your setup box in your phone. Who set your password there? The engineer who came to install it. The proxy is where the consent's identity, intent, all was blurred. Government has set the guidelines. And it's a very tough one because if there is a non-compliance, 200 crore is what the fine is coming into picture. If children data is going to come, is involved, it is much higher than that. We have already a huge repository or a lake of data. We have a lot of legacy systems. We don't know where it originated, who owns it, what is the lineage of this data. That we don't know. Now people are also saying data is our liability. Take an example. I am a DPO of a telco and telco has 200 million subscribers. One user comes back and say, tell me what data you hold. And he says, I don't want that, you remove it. What is the volume we are talking about? And there is a time limit where I have to do this. We need resources, and this thing truly is. We
You need an army of resources, I would say.
We need smart workers. More than the penalty, privacy is when it becomes a right to our stakeholders and constituents, it become a fundamental pillar of the trust we operate.
Somebody who's a graduate, who's just graduating, what exactly they want to get into the data privacy now?
Next 2 3 years, if somebody is looking as a career choice, it's a brilliant one. Do a gap analysis based on the regulation to your existing policies, preparedness, controls, awareness, and then essentially then derive a SWOT analysis to that. Data minimization, if you look at in one of the companies I worked, one of the tasks I took of saying, how can I avoid these areas? Am I collecting so much for no reason? We are looking forward to see a lot of amazing privacy leaders in India who are very accountable, clear on their thoughts, and has the guts to enforce things.
On 14th of November, India notified the digital personal data protection rules in the Gazette of India. It demonstrates a strong commitment to strengthening privacy rights and protecting its citizens in the digital ecosystem. And now it's maybe a good time to check, reflect, and acknowledge its ground realities. Regulation has been long overdue. For years, personal data, PII, PHI, financial information, behavioral data had been misused, mishandled, or exposed, sometimes deliberately or sometimes by accident. With no dedicated digital privacy law in place, individuals had minimum protection and recourse. India has entered the landmark moment with DPDP, and to break it down, I'm joined with someone who has lived, built, and led security and privacy transformation on a global scale. So Sunil is an industry veteran and a thought leader with deep industry experience across cybersecurity and governance. If you want a clarification on what DPD truly means for organizations, leadership, and the future of data protection, this is the conversation to listen to. Sunil, welcome to the show. It is great to have you again on our show. Very good afternoon, Sunil. It's such a pleasure to have you again on our show. And what better topic to discuss than the Digital Personal Data Protection Act, which has just been in action on 14th of November. And you are the best person to speak about it and to take us through and deep dive into the subject exactly, so that it will be great and helpful for the audience, for our audience to understand the nitty-gritties of the act. So to start with, I'll go with my first question. Why do you believe DPDP rules notified on 14th November 2025 are such a significant milestone for India?
See, Kavita, first of all, thank you for having me here. I've been very passionate about privacy for a very long time. So this is DPDP notification is very important for me as a person. See, how it signifies is it actually demonstrates a very strong commitment in strengthening the privacy rights and protection of citizens in the digital ecosystem. Now we have an enforceable law. For a very long time, the companies, individuals, the marketing agencies, they misuse data like anything. And the constituents had almost zero rights.
Right.
Okay, and it was completely ignorance also running on that. So many when I started hearing privacy many years back, I always used to think, why do we need privacy? Okay, India as a society, we never believed in privacy. That's what my perspective was. But then we started seeing so much of misuse happening and people suffering, whether it's the frauds or scams and everything because of personally identified information getting leaked and misused. And we really needed something. And I think that's where we reached. So that's why that excitement is there.
So though it was a long awaited one, right? So
It
I'm
is a very, very long awaited,
waiting.
but always we say now, although it was long due, but it is here now.
Absolutely. So you also mentioned that India culturally treats data as communal, right? And how does the social mindset make privacy transformation more complex?
It is, India is a society where openness is our default.
Very valuable. Very deep
Okay.
point. Yes.
We grew up in a joint families. We shared spaces. We shared our belongings. We shared responsibility. And by an extension, a mindset where information is communal, not individual. That's our belief. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Privacy was never a daily practice.
Right.
Our social fabric trained us to believe that if information exists, it has to be shared.
Very true. Mm-hmm.
That's how we all believed. So let us look at saying that how did the EU or the US privacies came into picture?
Right.
Okay. EU privacies were, so EU was privacy was protected to individual from organizations, while the US privacy was built to protect individuals from government.
Right. Okay.
A fundamental difference if you look at how that was being built.
Mm-hmm.
EU privacy laws were rights-based and human-centric. It was
Mm-hmm.
all around people. So we'll say human rights was fundamental right. Oh, sorry, privacy was a fundamental rights. It was part of human dignity. Okay, they related this
Mm-hmm.
privacy PI informations as a part of their human dignity. There's something that everybody owns it and it is their own. Something organization must justify before even touching. That's how the fundamental principles was built. But on the US was built on a risk-based and business-centric, not human-centric.
Not human centric.
So they will say the Consumer Protection Act, the sectorial specific risk, harm prevention, economic impact, that was all the, or innovation enablement, that was all the privacy consideration. But on the other hand, India was completely different.
Right. Culturally,
Okay,
right.
correct. We are still in an era where a lot of people's the letters are written by somebody else.
True.
The
Right.
password is set by your relative or your somebody
Right.
of your friend.
Right.
Okay, and we done many of our innovations and everything through Jugaad methods,
Yes.
where nobody said this is your boundary of using data, or this is all whatever. Nobody bothered whether we had really a consent in place.
Right. Very true.
That's because of a social fabric where we came in. That's how we always used.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the good thing with this particular DPDP Act is that it's actually a mix of both.
Mm-hmm.
So we are getting a lot in place where both from an innovative, the risk-based or the business centric and the human centric is coming into picture.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So they never took that extreme or this extreme. So in my view, it is very well balanced. Now, in reality, like I mentioned earlier, for millions of people in India, literacy levels and the digital maturity is very low still. It is not uniform saying that we all reached a threshold of, say, 5 in a scale of 10 and everybody is 5 and above. We are not. We are in a very varied society.
Mm-hmm.
Someone else fills out your forms, read your bank SMS, helps you to write your email.
Right.
Your online account is transacted by somebody else or
Right.
somebody
Yes.
near to you. Your device is set up by even the password. Still, we see who
Yes.
said our engineer who came, or yeah, look at your setup box in your phone. Who set your password there? The engineer who came to install it.
Absolutely. We don't even know it.
Okay, risk is high.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
The interaction, the proxy is where the concerns identity, intent, all was blurred. In the recent days when privacy people started talking,
Mhm.
the mobile phone is the classy one. Everybody said it's private to me.
Right.
Okay, there the privacy applicability comes. The only one which is doesn't fall in that realm is your mother's phone. Yeah, that belongs to everybody.
Very true. Yes.
Okay,
So,
but so when this rule is getting enforced, more than the technology aspects, which is a lot we can discuss over this way, we also have a social aspect
mhm.
that we cannot just go ahead and say like which done in Europe or in US or any of those countries of how privacy was enforced. India need a different approach.
Very beautifully, a very deep point that you brought out is like how in EU it was more of the individual right. In US they established it more from the organization perspective and protecting. And India definitely we're a very different culture altogether, where sharing and
Correct.
trust I think comes by default, right? So we
Correct.
yes. So here it's a
I
very
think by waiting so long, I think we also understood to strike a balance
right.
rather than rushing to just go in one line of that.
So now, going to this, as you mentioned, so as Indians, by default, we have this sharing, concept within us. So how difficult it will be from the government perspective to implement it, and for Indians to, for the larger audience and the population to follow it and to kind of completely embrace this, unlike other parts of the world like EU and US, if I may say.
See, government has set the guidelines.
Right.
And it's a very tough one because if there is a non-compliance, 200 crore is what the fine is coming into picture. If children data is going to come, is involved, it is much higher than that. Okay. So government has done its part. Now, government is also a custodian, or they call it the beautiful word fiduciary, because controller and processor was the earlier word. Okay.
Mhm.
So they are also as a data custodian. They also have their responsibilities, but it is all the corporates whichever the organization who is going to collect the data or process the data or sort the data of a considerable volume is in scope for this. So they don't have any choice. In India, roughly around 2,000, 3,000 companies may fall into that.
Mhm. Okay.
Okay. Some of those companies who have international businesses, especially catering to EU region, has already gone through this journey a bit because of GDPR requirement. But
Right.
it was purely from a business or economic point of view.
Mhm.
Okay. Now in India, although only because we may have around 7,000 approximate number, 7,000 stock listed companies.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
We may have hundreds of thousands of other companies who are collecting or processing data in various states. Whether because every company has an HR department, they will be collecting their information, but they may not fall in the scope of this thing because the volume is not that much. Okay. But what will happen is in every contract of a controller, he will also going to put for their processor to comply with it
True.
because they are not going to blindly support them.
Mm-hmm.
So, which means we will see a momentum of every organization trying to get a privacy compliant. And that will be both in letter and spirit.
Mm-hmm. Because there's no option.
Compared to an early time, when somebody comes back and say, you cannot use this data or that, there was two problems there. One is our mindset of openness, and
Right.
we never felt a need for it.
Mm-hmm.
And second is there was no regulatory requirement for it. But now what is happening is every individual directly or indirectly has gone through one or the other scam or a fraud. Because at least getting a scam call or some form of SMS or something, which all originated, the cause and effect, if you look at, there is some data which was leaked
Right.
or misused.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because if you look at the marketing companies, analytic companies, lead generators,
Right.
customer profiling, everybody uses it.
Yes.
Okay.
Very true.
Did they collect this information in a legitimate way? No. Okay.
Absolutely not.
So the constituents are also fed up. They
Mm-hmm.
wanted something to make things better. The digital economy, the foundation of a digital economy stays much on the trust.
Right.
And
Yeah.
trust is extremely dynamic.
Yeah.
Okay. Now with this because there are scenarios in India where large organizations leaked their data, very sensitive PHI data got leaked, and they were free. Their stock even didn't go down a bit.
Right.
Okay, because nobody was bothered,
Exactly.
and
Okay.
confidence had no rights. But
Mhm.
now that is changing
Correct.
because everybody is understanding their rights,
Mhm.
or will over the time will happen. So that time the participation level will be much better.
Mhm.
Earlier, if you look at an organization,
Mhm.
we kept DLP controls. We
Right.
was our HTTP level, SMTP level, our end user level. We were all looking at what type of data goes out.
Mhm.
That was sort of punitive control because we never tried changing the culture. We just put controls at the perimeters to see that I'm blocking, and I go back to them, give a warning letter, terminate people, or take action based on a policy non-compliance.
Right.
But these rules will help over the time because there's a lot of awareness required at a government level, at every constituency, every stakeholder level. We need to have an awareness creation saying
Mhm.
that is your right.
Right.
You decide what can be used. Okay.
Absolutely.
You have this is rights. Okay. So then the implementation or enforcement will become much easy. I can go to our innovation team and say, or an R&D team and say, you cannot use it. And earlier they'll say, it's okay.
Exactly. Yes. No,
Now
even
that will change.
in India,
Okay,
even in front of a mall, you'll have somebody to collect your data and build your database. So I'm
correct.
sure
But
that
the
will.
challenge will be there, Kavita. The biggest is that we have already a huge repository or a
Yes.
lake of data. We have
True.
a lot of legacy systems. We don't know where it originated,
Mhm.
who owns it,
Mhm.
what is the lineage of this data. That we
Mhm.
don't know. Okay, we don't even know which is which is the accurate data in our or authoritative source of a data in our organization. So that will become a burden
Mhm.
because earlier weeks, so people used to say data. At some
Right.
point, we said is the data is the oil. When we said data is the crown jewel, we said data is our growth engine. Now people are also saying data is our liability.
Yes. What a change.
Okay, yeah.
Mhm.
But there is and good thing will happen because of this enforcement and strong penalties associated. Organization will allocate sufficient funds.
Which was
Okay,
not the
it is
case.
not an incremental fund of your
Mhm.
existing security or
Mhm.
any other department. It is a completely new function, a completely new set of funds required.
Mhm.
And so because of that, it may take a little while. We have 18 months to enforce it,
Right.
but you will start the momentum. And if any company is not doing it, they are going to lose out over the long in the long term.
And will they need to allocate a huge amount of fund from the
It will,
no?
there will be a lot of money required. My view is that around 10 to 12, 20% of the budget will be required. The reason is you have to
Mhm.
discover the data first.
Right. As you
So
mentioned.
I'm not saying a matured organization.
Mhm.
In many organizations, we need to start looking at saying where all the data is there
Mhm.
and identify the categories of data
Right.
and classify it, then put the required enforcement, put the adequate policies. We even if you wanted to have a data management or a privacy office itself,
Right. In order
yeah,
to.
still it is a question mark.
Mhm.
Who owns privacy? Okay.
Mhm.
Traditionally, we said it belongs to general counsel.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Mhm.
The reason is if you look at privacy as the life cycle of it,
Mhm.
the concerns we have purpose limitation, data minimization, lawful use, accuracy, the quality of the data, storage limitation, security safeguard, accountability,
My God.
individual rights, proportional oversight, regulated cross-border transfer. So it is not one
True.
set saying is privacy. It is
True.
is a series of things, and
Mhm.
each of this session has
Mhm.
its own policies, its own controls, its own workflows, its own. So it is a huge area actually.
Right. Mhm.
Okay. Now, if I go back and say say take an example to CISO, because earlier I used this word saying that the data is also becoming a liability. People started understanding that
Right. Right.
because when GDPR came into picture, we looked initially as a regulation. or, or that coming out. But over the time, we saw a lot of penalties came into picture. A lot of companies got impacted because of the penalties. Then people suddenly said, okay, this is not a toothless thing. It has powers.
Right.
Okay. Now, considering all those things, if I go back to the compliance team and say, you are the privacy guys, they will say, we write policy, but we don't run the system.
Right.
I go back to CIO and say, you are the privacy guy. And he will say, we run the system, but we don't decide why data is collected.
My God. Yes.
Now I go to CISO and say, guy, you are the security guy, privacy guy. He says, we secure data, but we don't create the business process that exposes it. Because
Right.
that was a business need.
True. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
I go to CRO, the ultimate guy on the risk,
Right.
and say, you are the privacy guy. He will say, we assess the risk, but we can't enforce behavior across units. I don't go to that level and say culture has to be defined this way. Now I go to the AI guy with the new charming guy and say that you are the privacy guy because
Right.
all the data is with you, or you are the one who accessing it. He says, don't slow me down. Innovation needs freedom.
Absolutely. My God. Yes.
Now the
Yes.
CEO is completely stuck saying that, whom should I ask?
Yes. It's
Okay,
absolute.
that dilemma is there. So for your question, will it be costly? Natural choices earlier was that legal counsel or general counsel was the privacy guys. Two, three reasons. One is the legal aspect of it.
Right.
Second is they were the clauses written on contracts and everything. They had oversight to that. Okay. Then CISO came into picture because at the end of the day, it is digital data. So the protection of the data was the main side of it. CRO also came into picture as a risk on that. But now we are talking about the so whether it's a reporting, whether you're putting a DLP control, masking tokenizations, CISOs can do a good job. Okay. But when it comes to taking the consents, the users are going to ask for my rights of what data you hold, remove my data. Is the CISO fully equipped to that? Question mark. Okay. It may take its own time to find the right space, but initially it can be with CISO for sure. Okay. It's all depending on the maturity of the organization, how much control or visibility they have on the data.
Right.
Okay.
Absolutely.
But ideally, at some point, privacy can become, or data management privacy can become. So there is also other thought saying, can privacy be the guy for data management? Then saying that, is it a overlap or segregation of duty issue? Because how can he own and govern the data?
Right.
Okay. So that's why I said it's take its own time. A DPO as a function, traditionally we kept DPOs, especially to handle the the GDPR requirement. And he was one of our representative or a staff in the EU region. We assigned him.
Right. Okay.
Especially from the general counsel team. But in India, DPO, they mandate saying it has to be an Indian and residing in India.
Okay.
Okay. That role is not easy role. It is a very tough one.
I'm sure.
Okay. The problem is that because we can cover later on saying how somebody can misuse this role.
Right.
Okay. But if you look at anybody who is trying to ask you what data you hold. So take an example. I am a DPO of a telco.
Right.
And telco has 200 million subscribers.
Absolutely. Yeah.
One user comes back and say, tell me what data you hold. I would have given to my VAS service provider. I have given to everywhere. And he says, I don't want that. You remove it. What is the volume we are talking about? And there is a time limit where I have to do this, or within that time frame, I have to do that.
It's a Herculean task, right?
It's a Herculean tax, and it's not easy. So that is why to put that things in place, we need fund resources. Okay.
Absolutely.
And the companies, can they put a privacy leader overnight? May not be. Because first of all, India don't have much of a privacy personals.
Right.
Okay. I certified in privacy with IAPP in 2010 while I was in New York. Okay. Because that time we didn't had much of there was no exams here. So I was living in US that time and I done there. And later we saw an uptake in India especially big fours were jumping into privacy in building their capacity or skills and on that. I was proctor in India for many of those initial exams. Okay. We all expected that time privacy is going to pick up in a big way and there will be a lot of business coming for us. And we also thought it will be a natural extension of security.
Right.
That was the reason I went for privacy at that point in time.
Okay.
But Big Fours also build their capabilities on that. But when 2018, that period when GDPR came into picture, 2-3 years before that, they got a lot of engagement to prepare the processors in India
Right.
for that GDPR compliance.
Right.
Okay. So many of the senior people you see on the industry with IAPP certifications
Yes.
are from that era. And I was later in the advisory of IAPP also. So now we spoke about 3,000 companies who may be a data custodian. They wanted to put a privacy full-time officer. Do we have qualified people here? May not be.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what we
Then we have the smaller companies or the processors who need a much larger number. So that is where I also wrote a blog a few days back saying that we will see a rise of the virtual DPOs coming in
Yes,
picture.
you mentioned that, right?
Because the DPOs, while they are overseeing governance, they are setting the framework for that. They may not be needed for a full-time role.
Yes, it may
And
be just
affordability can also become because demand and supply may slightly change a bit.
right. Right.
Okay. So due to which the virtual DPO is a good option because the regulation doesn't say, although they say it should be Indian residing in India and all those, they don't say it has to be a full-time person. They spoke about or they mentioned about where they should report out to the senior leadership and all, but they never said whether it's full-time or virtual. I think that will pick up on that. So for your the question, Kavita, do we need resources and this thing? Surely yes, we
You
need
need
it.
an army of resources, I may say, specialized in
We need
skilled.
smart workers. We need smart workers, and
Mhm.
it is also a collaborative approach internally. So first one, if it is me, I would start creating a RASI matrix, saying that who is responsible for what on accountability of each of that thing, because everybody has to come together to make it happen.
Right.
Okay, it may not be an army. It may be a smart working with a collaborative approach, everybody participating in. Because more than the penalty, privacy is when it becomes a right to our stakeholders and constituents, it become a fundamental pillar of the trust we
Right.
operate.
Very, very, absolutely. You hit the nail on the right place, actually.